Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I'm glad you're well from wherever you're watching this channel. Now, I'd like to start this session by appreciating your support so much. And if you wish to support us, please just hit the subscribe button and then you can hit the like button. So, why is Senator Aaron Cheruiyot appearing to be affected by Ekuru Aukot sentiments on Twitter? We'll start this analysis by posting that question. And also in this analysis, there are fresh revelations that we want to address on the issue of server. And I'll also take you through some of those missing bits that most people did not cover in the whistleblowers of Talana, IEBC, and that threat from Chebukati. But before we start that analysis, let me read to you a tweet that got us to discuss about this issue. So Ekuru Aukot on the 8th posted a tweet, and I think it was a sustained tweet, 3 tweets consecutively, and this got Aaron Cheruiyot to respond. First, this is what Ekuru Aukot posted. The issue of the IEBC Kenya server remains a puzzle wrapped in a mystery. The Supreme Court considered that it cannot be opened because it will breach the property rights of Smartmatic, the owners of the server. Still, questions remain though. That was tweet 1. Then the second tweet from Ekuru Aukot was, the effect is that many Kenyans have stubbornly refused to accept this reasoning and cannot move on, and may join Maandamano on Monday. Why do the UK and the US, through Senator Combs, do not want this mystery server to be opened? Why is mostly affected here? Tweet 2. Then on to tweet number 3. Let me pose this question and hopefully we can debate it soberly without anyone catching feelings. If opening this server is what will unlock the country to move on, why not? What does the UK and the US know that frightens them not to open the server? That was the end of the third tweet from Ekuru Aukot. But then Senator Aaron Cheruiyot of Kericho County could not take it easily, and then he decided to respond to this tweet. He said, forget about servers. Ballot boxes, which are the primary source of data in the server, were opened. Azimio picked the samples to be opened. Not a single discrepancy was recorded. Stop entertaining false conversations. Soon, students will go to streets and ask for the exam papers. That was the response that Senator Aaron Cheruiyot chose as his response. But the question is this. I think from that response, I can tell that Aaron Cheruiyot maybe did not follow the proceedings of Supreme Court, because I remember there was a ballot box within Majengo, that is within Majengo, within Vita constituency, where that ballot box was found to be open and did not have papers, ballot papers. So if you realize that in some areas which were designated to be areas where UDA and the Kenya Kwanza fraternity stole a lot of votes, one of the areas was in Vita. But that area, again, the ballot boxes which were designated for recount or for recheck were found to be either without seals or without ballot papers. So Aaron Cheruiyot's response may be ni kama hakuona hiyo part. But why are they scared of opening the server? Because the truth is that Kenyans do not want to paint a rosy picture of a credible election that never was, when indeed the immutable truth lies in the digital footprints of the server. So we want to remind Cheruiyot that one of the most important things to Kenyans right now is that peace and not being left in the dark every time elections are done. That's what people are asking for. And also, what Cheruiyot need to know is that US and UK have proved beyond doubt that they were involved in this Kenya's general election, because you remember very well what Meg Whiteman said when she had to admit that they used 2 billion on the IEBC. And that was after Raila Amolo Odinga had continuously attacked this, the US and the UK, saying that they did not want him to become the president of this republic. So that forced Meg Whiteman to now come out clear and say that, okay, we finance IEBC. We gave 2 billion. We gave 2 billion to IEBC to finance that process. Many people did not know that this was the case until that time that Meg Whiteman confirmed what Raila Amolo Odinga has been saying. That is true. I agree, with Ekuru Aukot, despite the fact that Ekuru Aukot has always been on a slumberland. But this time around, Ekuru Aukot has seen the light and realized that, okay, this issue of Sava is what will help this country. And I agree with him. Because it is important also that we remind Cheruiyot about certain things. There are three aspects. One was the Talana leak. The two was the IEBC whistleblower. And the third aspect was the Chebukati's threat that he was to take Raila Amolo Odinga to court. So these three aspects should give Cheruiyot a reason to know that Kenyans are not fools, that wajinga waliisha. First, on the Talana issues. 3 days after, I'm giving a chronological event now on these leaks. 3 days after Ruto's victory, two of Anand's hacking victims found themselves at the center of a public and legal scandal that is still railing Kenya. The contention is that the two are responsible for hacking the computers of the country's Independent Elections Committee in order for them to rig the result and steal the presidential election for Ruto, subverting the will of the people. That is as far as Talana's part is concerned. Then came the second part, the IEBC whistleblower. So in the IEBC's case, then in a shock revelation, an alleged anonymous whistleblower, remember that time, from the IEBC came forward with evidence of fraud and manipulation in the 2022 general election. But according to the whistleblower, the IEBC, under the direction of Chebukati, Gulia and Boyamolu, and Marjan, provided fabricated information to Kenyans. The whistleblower further claimed that the IEBC leadership was fully aware of the fraud and manipulation going on, but did nothing to stop it. So he said that there is evidence that more than 1,000 unregistered users sent result forms from IP addresses outside the borders of Kenya. The IEBC whistleblower said. These remarks, IEBC has not responded to them. The whistleblower said 1,000 IP addresses sent forms from outside Kenya. 1,000. That's a huge number. If in each of the 1,000 IEBC forms, each of those people cook only 200 votes, then we have 200,000 votes being cooked. And that is what William Ruto win margin was, about 200,000. Because 6.9, 7.1, the difference is 200,000. So 1,000, if this idea is true, ladies and gentlemen, that 1,000 people and registered users sent forms from IP addresses outside the borders of Kenya, then the only thing that can reveal this is that IEBC server that used to receive these forms and relay them to storage servers. Because you understand, there's a time where George Njoroge said, the IT man for IEBC, said that there was a particular server that was receiving forms and converting these forms. And that is a server that Smartmatic had refused to unleash or to give the people, to give the IT people to examine. Because if it is true that 1,000 unregistered users used to send from IP addresses outside the country, then the only thing that can reveal is that algorithm server, the IP address, 1,000 IP addresses, the 1,000 IP addresses of unregistered users. That is what can expose the myth behind the theft of IEBC votes. The myth can only be unraveled by that 1,000 unregistered users who, according to the whistleblower, were sending forms from IP addresses outside Kenya. So important for Raila Amolo Odinga is that they will be able to tell where these forms were coming from. IEBC cannot allow that because that will expose them. So to Smartmatic, it will also expose them as being a fraudster. Because of course the people, the world already knows that Smartmatic is very corrupt, but that will expose them further and it will tell the right picture that they stole this election. So the third aspect here is Chebukati. And I would like to take you back to Jacaranda rally, where Raila Amolo Odinga said he had footages of Chebukati coming to his home, trying to, talk issues of business. That you pay me this, I give you results. So Raila Amolo Odinga said he had those results. He had that footage. So the threat on taking Raila and Tuju to court over the details exposed during the Jacaranda rally, where Chebukati's lawyers accused Raila and Tuju and threatened to take Raila to court if video is not availed. That threat did not see the light of the day because Chebukati did not take Raila Amolo Odinga to court, but those videos were not given to them. So the question is, if at all these issues affecting Chebukati, then why did he take him to court? Why did he take Raila Amolo Odinga to court? It is very simple, that he was avoiding the release of that video, because I remember Raila Amolo Odinga said that the only place they can release that video is in court. So Chebukati was just to go to court and report Raila Amolo Odinga and accuse him, and then those lawyers for Raila Amolo Odinga would take that video to court for scrutiny. So Chebukati realized that this threat was real, so he decided to take a low profile and did not take this matter to court. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's also a part where Marjan failed to pay by-election IEBC staff in time. I think as of last week, they had not been paid. I think that was almost 4 months down the line. But if you realize that the IEBC staff, the ones who carried out presidential elections, were paid, I think, 1 or 2 weeks after the elections. They were paid in time. So the question that I also asked myself, why is it that the IEBC staff for by-election were not paid, had not been paid as at last week, but the ones who took care of the IEBC presidential elections were paid 1 or 2 weeks later? So there was a sermon on the same where Marjan was to appear in the parliament to answer to why that delay was venye ilikuwa miezi minne na hawajalipwa wala IEBC staff. So Chebukati so Marjan was to answer to those allegations. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I've given enough reasons for Cheruiyot to think twice as to those sentiments that he issued as telling Ekuru Aukot achana nayo maneno kabisa. So the thing that we wondered is, why was it that it was affecting Cheruiyot sana hivyo? This issue of server inamuaffect kwa nini? I can only tell that the only time when someone is affected about something is when they think that that thing is concerning them 100%. So ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, but before you do so, please also don't forget to give us a comment below the comment section what you think about this issue. And once again, I'd like to urge you to stay safe and stay blessed until we catch up again in our next analysis.